Okay, hello, good morning, everyone. We're going to get started here. To begin with, we're starting over here on, I'm going to be sharing my screen. First, everyone, I hope everyone agrees this has to be recorded. If you have any problems with that, just don't talk or come see us later. I have to record. There might be a couple people that aren't going to show up. And also, some of you may be kinesthetic learners like me that have to do hands-on and look more later at some of the things we're going to cover in this onboarding. So, good morning. This is our biz485.com site. Can everybody hear me okay? Any audio problems? Yes. Shake our heads. Yes, yes. Okay. Carrie, yes. All right. Let's see. We might have, I think there's only two people that haven't joined. They may join in a little while. Otherwise, we'll keep on going. So when you go to biz485.com, you'll see all kinds of hints and tips, and this is a great site for us all to get together on as you get your teams together, etc. This is just very quickly, I posted just who the kind of final teams are because in red, blue, and yellow because of having our last person finally register for the sim. So CLC is provisioned, so is the sim. So we're ready to go for next week when we have our first, not decision, but form that's due in the CLC and then on the sim itself. One other thing, before we get started, what we have a tradition here, and that is before I start onboarding and we get questions or we start talking about the sim, we always get a superstar from one of our previous universes. And when Amber Universe started, and by the way, universes are named after precious gems. We have gold, platinum, your diamond, we have amber, we have ruby. And the last, going back 10 or 12 sims, we had a red team 2 or 3 times ago with Jackson that did the same thing, introduced kind of what his experience was with the sim for the amber team. And coincidentally, either if you believe in coincidence, if you're a scientist or some kind of divine destiny, Amber, we have Amber on the Amber team, and it was the Amber universe actually. And 3 red teams really knocked the ball out of the court 3 times ago on Ruby, had a record in that they were #1 in all of the parameters that we measure in the sim. And then we had another red team that jumped from the bottom all the way to the top at the end, which is amazing. And this current that's still on decision 4 and decision 5, Amber team, the red team also, that where Amber's the validator, did fantastic and had #1s also. But one thing I'm gonna surprise, if I can find it here. Oh, I've got to, let me refresh this. Let me go down here to, this is amazing, Amber's amazing white line idea. And she's being surprised by this.
Oh,
What happened is Amber came up with this idea after hundreds of sims over 20 years. It's like a chess game with 10 to the 123rd power possible, combinations. So there's always new things. And what Amber came up with this idea was this, you'll learn to love this as you go forward on the sim. This is the famous or infamous white market line. This is a very mature group with I think 7 teams and 8 decisions, but it's just an example that as you make your decisions and you try to forecast where you should go for the next period, there is a white market line. And what Amber suggested was, hey, you know what? We're kind of into decision 3, decision 4. We're on the ground. We're or in the online. We have only 5 decisions, so which is 5 weeks from week 3 to week 7. And so she said, why don't we look back on the white line and kind of look at what we did in the past and then match the trends to what we did in terms of what we anticipated on our decisions and then what actually happened and what happened with the market, which is absolutely brilliant. I told, we have 30 instructors and we have the people in France and at Harvard who created the sim, and we talked to them about Amber's idea and they said, no one's ever suggested this before. What a great idea. So in our workaround silliness, all we can do at this point is screenshot it, where you take a screenshot of each your decisions in that, keyframe it, and then kind of look at what happened in the past and what's going forward in the future. But the reason it's brilliant is because what we're doing on this sim is trying to anticipate the trend line. Is it going up or down? If we're behind it, we're getting exhaust. If we're in front, we have no fuel, it's air. If we meet it and we do well paralleling it as it changes, of course we can't know the future. So we try to meet that with our different sliders that we choose in our decisions to match the customer. So what Amber's idea was is, hey, why don't we watch how this progresses through all of the decisions and see how our matching was. And that got all these much people smarter than me, who she should probably be talking to, who said, wow, we can use calculus and we can use partial derivatives and find out where it's going, and all these quant type folks. So anyway, it's a great idea. We're going to start with our universe right here with Diamond Universe. And thank you. This will live on forever. Thank you, Amber. I really appreciate it. But without any further ado, as is traditional, I'm going to introduce Amber Burgess, and who's on there getting to their final decision now. And she'll give you a little background, encouragement, tell her how she felt starting out and how she ended up, and just take a few minutes and let everybody know what they're about to find it, so they're not hopelessly confused, which sometimes I get.
Yeah, I think it wasn't until probably week 2 that we were not hopelessly confused. Um, it was very overwhelming at first. I feel like when our group was kind of laughing because we were watching all these videos and like really studying the cheat sheets and all of that, and we're like, I feel like it's like when you're asking a definition of something and they're using the word in the definition, and it's just so confusing at first, and you really have no idea um, what's happening. So if you guys feel that, you're definitely not alone. I think every single person feels that. And it makes a lot more sense as time goes on. And I feel like by the even second decision, you're like, okay, it seems like it's just kind of by chance or really anything. But by the third decision, you definitely get a better hang of things. I, our group, I was very hesitant at first because I've had awful experiences at GCU with group projects. We've I've had to do basically all the work in past group projects and like redo work that had been done by other students. And uh, I, it's very important to me to get good grades. And so that's just what had happened at GCU. But this group, this class is so incredibly different. Um, in our group, the first week, we probably spent like 6 hours on Zoom, 3 different days. And honestly, half the time we weren't even talking about the sim. Like we were just enjoying getting to know each other and working together. But yeah, everybody, I feel like at this point, especially in our degrees, like it's towards the end of GCU. And so we all are very eager to be done with college, but also like we really care about our work. So yeah, it's been a really big learning experience, but also a time where I don't know, I feel like there's so many things that could be said about this class, but at first it just feels like you're so lost. And I personally, I'm like, I feel like I'm stupid because I have no idea what any of this means. But it definitely makes more sense and you will get the hang of it. So definitely don't feel down on yourself about that. Um, but yeah, I would recommend watching all the recap videos because Coach T definitely goes into very good detail about the different lines and kind of where you might have gone wrong or where you did a good job in your decisions. And so yeah, those are very informative. Same as especially the cheat sheets. I I took a lot of time just going through each one, taking notes on it, and really trying to get any information about my specific car line, and just seeing like what the customer is sensitive to. And that really guided me in where I moved my sliders and where I invested my money in my car line. So yeah, and as well as any of the instructional videos that he's provided, probably in the announcements or wherever, but those are also really helpful just to get a good idea of how this works and just kind of the direction that you can take things. But yeah, if I were to do anything different though, I wrote down to document all the market lines, but it seems like that's being taken care of, because it's just, yeah, it's helpful to know like the past trends and kind of where you might have underestimated the market and where you overestimated it. So, yeah, and also making small adjustments. He says that in a couple videos, but our group, I think in our first decision, it was quite comical. We had invested like $1 million in HR and customer service to be like, well, we have the money, so might as well. Like, we want to have our employees happy. And we have a person in our group now that's like, they're like, no, they had their bonus. Now we can just kind of let's reduce their their investment a little bit. But yeah, that's been a running joke almost the entire course now. You guys, you will make mistakes. We obviously every team does. And yeah, also there's little boxes in the sim that have a 0 in it. Put numbers in those boxes, because if you don't, it will tank and not go well at all. And there's been there in the first week, one of the teams did not put numbers in those boxes and totally messed up even our predictions, because we were like, if these teams keep making mistakes, how can we predict like what's really going to happen? So yeah. And it also like throws off all your financials, all of that. And let's see. Something also important is to know that the car, like your business, it's already failing. And so you're taking it from like a failing business and you're trying to make it profitable and kind of positive in all the financials and everything. So that's one of the things that one of the people on our team has like, I wish I knew that kind of before decision one, because then we're not like so down on ourselves about it. But yeah, that's definitely one. But yeah, small adjustments is definitely key, especially with pricing and even the sliders, like not going from 4 to 9 right away, because it could just kind of throw off the market a bit. Trying to think.
Yeah, there's a
Ask
lot,
coach, yeah.
there's a lot of videos to watch, and there's a lot of data because it's infinite. Nobody can game the sim. And as I say, Amber and many other students, some I've had 15, 20 years going now, come back and they get recommendation letters about how well they did on the sim, not only because they did good in school on this sim, but that this sim is used across the planet by executive C-suite teams. They come for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They do the exact same experience you're about to have before they're chosen as a CEO for a company. I myself became a CEO of a $1 billion company with 300 million in equity and all kinds of fun stuff because of the sim. And I created a sim at that company, not just for training, but simulation now is a way to simulate finances, a way to see where your business is going. So it's not just a learning tool now, but simulation has become an actual tool of business in this whole, you can tell I'm a really old guy, but this whole universe of young people coming out with these ideas on AI and machine learning. Simulation is really coming into its time and its day. So we're, as Amber said, we're really happy that to give you an experience that is, and I'd like to ask Amber about this too. One of the really overwhelming things is when you look at the syllabus and you go through it, it's like, how can we do all this stuff and do a sim and then set up a Zoom with our team and then meet? It's a minimum of an hour and a half for each week for 5 weeks, but some go on for many hours. They have text groups where we're texting each other. And I'm in the middle of all of it because my number is your number. Text me, call me, whatever you need. My validators, we have one validator, Jennifer, for Diamond Team. We need another for Red and for Blue if you want to volunteer. Otherwise, at our first meeting or at your first meeting, you can let me know who you decided will be your validator. But that's kind of our communication point. And Amber has been wonderful, as was Jackson before, and then a few people that were validators who just kept really asking a lot of really good questions. And because we can't favor a team, even though I love my validators, when a team asks a question, we always post it back in announcements or on a discussion question so you can see the answer to that question too, because it wouldn't be fair just to answer to one team. But where you can get an advantage is if you watch more of the videos. JC and Amber's Universe said he binged on a Saturday and watched 20 videos and remembered like 4 or 5. There are a lot of tips. And just to give Amber a tip, with the fifth decision, all holds are not barred. You can do whatever you want because there's not a sixth decision, so you don't have to worry about CapEx. You do not have to worry about. So what happens with that last decision is you can go like crazy on the sliders, and there's a secret key that won't help anybody else until decision 5, which is that no one ever asked this question, but it's actually secretly in there, which is when you make a decision to change the sliders for a next period, Amber's going to punch me when I say this, but all of your current inventory also is changed. So the current inventory takes on the new characteristics, not the old characteristics of your sliders. And that is a subtle, mind-blowing kind of fake point because you have inventory. It's whatever it was in the past, but on the sim, it becomes new again. So for the last couple of decisions, what you can do is say, hey, I don't have to worry about CapEx in my engineering. I'm going to go, full speed ahead and put wonderful characteristics on this inventory because I knew it took everything else and I don't have to invest. My new decisions won't wreck the CapEx for next period because there is no next period. So we've had teams jump easily from number 5 or number 6 or number 7 up to number 1 with just that one kind of technique of redoing, but you really have to know what you're doing in terms of what does engineering do with the customers, and that takes at least 3 or 4 decisions, as Amber has said. So Amber, I don't want to keep you, I thank you for Saturday, but do you have any other like final closing ideas for this new team that if you were just starting out, is there 1 or 2 things that, one that you said was brilliant that I forgot about, which is a lot of teams don't watch any videos. They just jump in, they meet and say, let's try this and this and this, which is fine. You learn by doing, but they don't even know you can fill in a box. And they leave a price at 0. And then what happens is like, there's no sales and like, what's happening? My market went away. I had one team say, what happened to my market? There's no market. Why don't we have any shares? It's like, because you priced it at 0. Nobody bought it. You didn't generate any demand. You can't overprice it or under. And then another tip, as Amber mentioned, is that try to stay near the white line and don't make giant jumps. In fact, I won't mention the name, but I told another validator this, and immediately he went and doubled his price. It got no demand. And I said, that's kind of a big change, buddy. Why did you double your price? He said, I don't know. I just wanted to try something and see what happened. It's like, hey, that's how we learn. That's great. But another part of this is you might mention, Amber, is that it's also a portfolio management. You're trying to balance. I don't know how you handle this. You did it really well, where you have 4 different CEOs with 4 different car lines, and they all want to do what they want to do. And yet the corporate decision, you have to go make a budget and say, sorry, we can't spend this much on low cost. And it's of the 4 lines, Amber could tell you this better than me, but image and family are the cash cows. They make you your money and they get you ready for period 3, 4, and 5 and forward to make eco and low cost work, which are the question mark and the star. But right away, they're going to kill you if you say, you have this great heart and you say, the planet's going to love me. I'm going to do all eco. And you put all your money in and all of a sudden you crash and burn because you didn't look at the finances and say, no, we need to take something that's already cash flowing before we invest in it because we'll just go further underwater. And this is a turnaround. This is, I hope not Walmart buying Sam's Club and then saying we better get out of it. But it definitely is a turnaround. You're into period 4 to start. There's been 3 periods that were handed over to your C team saying, help get us out of this. So, you know, EBIT's underwater, ROSA's underwater, retained earnings, you never get positive, no team, but you can get closer to 0. So, Amber, do you have any, I don't want to keep you too long. I really thank you for coming, but do you have any kind of closing thoughts that really helped you?
I think we had an agreement on our team of kind of saying like we need to all be brutally honest with each other, and that's been really helpful. And it's luckily we have a lot of uh we have good humor on our team, so like we kind of make fun of each other, but like in a nice way. We have good banter with one another, and so there's this one guy who has not been positive in his EBIT I think the entire probably sim. And so we're all like, okay, it's just it's Kevin's fault that we're not doing well or whatever. And, but like in a real sense, his, his car line was the image one. And he's made kind of just iffy decisions on production. But we've just had to kind of be honest. And he's like, honestly, you guys probably know this better than me, but um, yeah, definitely just an honesty and being okay with making mistakes. And it's just a sim. Like it's very important to learn and like not taking things personally. Um, because we're all just trying to do well, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But just that it's important to openly communicate if you see something wrong, because it in the end, like it could benefit your team. Even if someone's not totally like gung-ho on the idea, it could be really beneficial. So yeah.
That's
The
a
last
really
thing
good
is just
point because there's
asking.
actually a peer review that where everybody reviews each other. Now, when you're talking about red team and everybody's so fantastic and done well, there's a way to game it and give everybody maximum points so you get, and also if you blow something, you can still get an A in the class. I should say that if you're coming last, it's not what it's about. It's about learning. But one way you can build a class is not show up. Don't be part of your team. Just, I mean, then your peers will give you bad points. I don't have to because it's like we need every person there. We really do. Some teams have 7, 8 members on the ground school. We usually only have 4 or 5, so we really need every person there. So I'm sorry. And also, if anyone has any questions of Amber before we let her go, please jump in and ask any questions. I know you probably don't even know what questions to ask yet because we haven't even onboarded or really gotten into it, but it's important that we get a start knowing that it's not overwhelming as you go forward.
Yeah, the last thing I was gonna say is just asking Coach T any questions because he's very responsive. I've been texting him more than Halo, but it's it's very helpful to just have when I have a question or when our team has a question, just as the validator asking him. And we did a phone call maybe a couple weeks ago, which was more helpful than texting, just because I feel like sometimes texting, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm reading even. But yeah, just asking questions because there are going to be a lot of questions. So yeah.
That's really good because what happens is ground students, um, we love each other. We love our students and they love our professors and we meet all the time in the classroom. And online, a lot of times you never even get to see another student. You never get to see your professor. And when I get my validators, we're doing Zooms with each other, we're texting, and it's more like ground school because we're here for you. This is a different experience with this sim than you'll ever have, even in ground school. In fact, when we do ground with this, with the 15-week, with 8 decisions, and there's a recession, and there's a buyout and an international merger or whatever, the teams, if there's 7 teams, they're intense in the classroom because they don't want one other team hearing another team. They actually tent themselves in and meet, and then they go out in the hallway and other places. So the other teams, it's like co-opetition. So it's just an amazingly different, and frankly, I don't want to trash anything, but it's way different than CLC. If you've had CLC before, it's not that. It's not just say a couple of chats. You really, um,
Yeah.
I'm there for you. Your other teammates are there for you, and you self-organize. This is our last live Zoom we'll have that I'm involved in. I will Zoom with any one of you who want to personally, and I'll post what we say. I don't have to record us, so I'll post what we've learned together so everyone can see it, so that it's not just giving advice that I shouldn't just do one person. But frankly, the more questions you ask and the more interested and engaged you are, you get the advantage just because you're you're pointed at where to go, and it is overwhelming information. So, well, if there's no Amber, I thank
I
you
have a
so
question.
much. Oh,
I
go
have a,
ahead. Go ahead.
for Amber, like what was when you first started out, like scheduling Zooms, like what worked for everyone, like beginning, middle, end of week? Like how did you guys break up as far as scheduling?
I would definitely suggest the beginning of the week. We did every Monday night, but that's just kind of what worked out for everybody. But I would definitely suggest, at least in the first week, the beginning of the week, and maybe the middle of the week. We did a Monday, Wednesday, and I think if we needed to do another one, which we did, we had scheduled that for Friday.
Okay.
But definitely have a consistent meeting time each week and have that as an agreement that like everybody meets at this time. We scheduled it for an hour, but we have a talkative group. We were on for about 2 hours each night. And yeah, like it's definitely beginning of
Okay.
the week just to kind of have a direction on what you want to do with the money, what you want to do with each line. And as validator, I I don't know if this is supposed to be my role, but like I was very involved. I still am very involved with each car line. I think I just personally have the best kind of general concept of the sim. And so it was like we all kind of took our turns with our car line of like, okay, let's do image. And so we spent maybe like 20-30 minutes on image and like where the slider should be and what the customers are responsive to, and then moved on to eco and then low cost and then whatever. But yeah, like just have a consistent time with your
Okay.
group. And there was one person in our group who was she was like, hey, I'm actually out of town today. Can we reschedule? And we're like, we can't. And so she made the time to like she left wherever she was at just to make our meeting. And so yeah, it's very important to be at all the meetings. Yeah, because it really is like everybody's involved with everything. And I think you guys have 4 people per team, which is really helpful because you all have your own car line. Whereas like we had 5, so there's one person who didn't have a car line, and so we're just now like giving him kind of stuff to do. But yeah,
Okay.
consistent times and making the meetings for sure.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Jen is our validator for Yellow Team. Thank you. That's
Okay.
a great exchange, and that's important. We do try to
Yeah.
set these up so you're on similar time zones, but in Amber's universe, we have someone from the Netherlands. In this diamond, we have a person from Germany. And I try to my best that I can do to get you close in your time zones, so you don't have to, be in the middle of the night unless you're in Europe. But that it's there's all kinds of different techniques I found over the years. Some people do a lot of texting, and then they have like one Zoom that's an hour or two. But in between, there's a lot of texting and chatting. Some people do FaceTimes. Younger people than me do Discord servers where they're used to gaming, and they get a free Discord server, and they all meet on Discord. However you want to meet is great, but you do have to have a synchronous meeting. It can't all just be async because, as Amber's been saying all along, it's really teamwork. And each of you well, on your off time, you take your car line and figure out what you want to do with it. Then you bring it back to corporate and you go back and forth on what's good for the whole team. And that's really what maximizes the benefit. And then you're learning from each other. I also try to put at least one quant on each team. Amber's been kind of humble here, but she's been doing fantastic work on the quant side also and guiding her team. And I definitely have one quant on each team of your 3 teams. We've got 2 5s, 1 4, but there's 2 of the teams, there are 2 quants on it. So, and I'm not saying a quant is any better than us marketing types, but you definitely need to know some of the finances and ratios and that to really see what your competitors are doing. I made this universe publicly traded so you can see the numbers of your competitors and understand that as well. So, does anyone have any other questions of Amber? Or Amber, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I had one thing. I would suggest a meeting platform where you can share your screen. So we tried FaceTime initially, but we were like, this is not going to work. So just some way to share the screen. Definitely include that.
Yeah, Microsoft Teams, Google, Discord. There's Zoom, of course. Almost everybody does Zoom because in our course we have working adults on online, and there's everyone, at least one person has access to Zoom usually. So that's usually the best we find in terms of the screen sharing. But I'm sorry, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, because it's very difficult to see what all's going on if you can't, look at where the lines are going and all of the graphics, etc.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, if there's no other questions for Amber, I'm going to release you, let you go. Thank you so much. We'll keep on texting. And besides, you need to go get your team together for Saturday's decisions.
Yeah, you got it. I'll do that right now.
That's an inside joke, but Saturday noon is our validation time. And so Amber's taking her time away from her team to do this for everyone else. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Amber.
Of course. Good luck,
All
everybody.
right. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, we will jump into the interface. Now, again, this biz485.com is a great place to go. The opening page is just some answers to questions that people have, kind of how does the sim work, etc. But when you have access to this and you jump on, all the videos are here. There's playlists for it. This is a custom site just for you. As you saw, we have welcome Diamond Universe. This would normally be a recap when you do your first decision get together, and it'll have recaps of your decisions. This is just your teams as they're made up right now. I need you to get together. I will not post this on the site because it's got your phone numbers on it, but I have posted in the announcements now. Whenever you look at announcements, you've got the entire roster of all the teams, your emails, and your phone numbers. So you can set up text groups. I've already set up text groups for all 3. The first thing you need to do is decide on a validator, or if any one of you are from Diamond, be Carrie, Eddie Miller, or Jordan, if any of you want to be the validator on Diamond, let me know. Same with Blue Team with Nick, Renee, Soraya, or Trinity. If you do want to be that, let me know, because that's the primary contact that I have with your team. And also there's a lot of texting back and forth. We do private Zooms and calls and all that other stuff to help you with any kind of questions. There's also something really important you need to know. I mean, you may have seen this if you went to professor.com or whatever. I'm known as an easy grader. Now, I believe if I give somebody a B in this class, I got that B too. So, I mean, if somebody just disengages and says, I don't care, I'm not going to show up, I'm going to game this, I'm going to go along for the ride, there's nothing I can do, because on discussion questions and things like that, there are automatic grading that I can't do. But there is one thing that I promise you, and that is you can all get, I don't care if I give straight A's on a class, I've done it before. So just do the work, meet with your team, and it gets really easy once you get into the sim, because you can use everything you did in the sim on the DQs, on the participation, etc. Now, the benchmark does say, okay, you've got to do 3 different participations on 3 separate days and have at least 6 total. Well, do all 6 Sunday at 11:59. I don't care. I'm going to give you credit for it. When you're in that sim, you're working so hard. I want you to use those materials. And what you'll see here on this site is every time you're done with a decision, let me see if I can find here's a Gold Universe Finals. This is a different universe, but all of these graphics that you see we create these, your instructors create these from your results. And it may look overwhelming now, like what all is going on here. Well, you'll find out real soon that I'm an absolute, I have my roast hat on, so I love roast, and I also love lost orders over inventory. Now you're gonna look at this and say, what the heck is that? Well, what this is the 0 point means that you have balanced your inventory with your production. Supply and demand meet. You don't have to do calculus. It's all 4-function math in this. But as you make your slider decisions, we will see teams getting closer and closer to the 0 line. If you, any graph, it's the opposite of counterintuitive. It says lost orders over inventory, then inventory is on top and lost orders on the bottom. So if you're dipping towards the bottom, those are lost orders. What are lost orders? Lost orders are orders you got that you didn't have sales for. And in the United States, sales just means deliveries. Now we have some other European parts of this sim, but just think of sales as deliveries. When you see orders up here and sales down here, the gap in between means those are orders you got you couldn't fulfill because production was off. So if you're going up like yellow here, that means you're building inventory. If you're going down like red did here, then you're getting you're losing orders because there's a gap between orders and sales. You're not producing enough rather than you're not marketing enough, but you don't want to market so much. But anyway, that's just one example of the kinds of graphics you get that you can use. And when you see everything you see in the benchmarks is conditioned upon the sim, and that's going to help you. You're going to love it, because if it says, okay, write a 1,200 page paper on blah, 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 I don't care if it's 100 words and you have 3 slides. There's a book out, I think it's called Real World, REEL. It's that when you go in to pitch a movie in Hollywood, you get to say 3 words. And the middle word has to be like it's X on B. So when they pitched the Alien movie, they said it's Jaws in space. Those were the 3 words. If you can really get this down to a few graphics that are key in the decisions you made and have some language with it, that's 100 times better than writing a 1,000-page paper and saying, Bandura 2011 said such and such APA 7 referenced. You're not going to walk into your C-suite in a presentation in a real business and say, let me show you all these 10 scholars that say that you should do what I'm telling you to do. It's like, hey, real quick, here's 5 slides. Here's what happened. Here's what's going to happen. So we try to do business writing, do this as real as possible with the real world. And then when you get to your papers or your presentations and those other deliverables, use your teamwork. Take these out. You can read. There's no such thing as plagiarism here. If someone had a great idea in one of your sims, cite them. Say, that was Breed. She said such and such, and I've already used one of her graphics on our and credited her on our website. So if you have a teammate, just cite them, or just say this is a whole team effort, and many of them will be. There's a lot, you will be confused a lot at first with CLC. And on the site, I have put in, let me see if I can show you this. Ace the Sim in the class, you love that. There's some really good tips on how do you get rows up. As Amber said, when you make your slider decisions, don't make giant ones. Keep them in the center, and I'll kind of show you what that's going to look like. We're running low on time here, but I will at least end by showing you that so you see what it looks like when you get on. But when you get here and you start to see all the decisions you've made in the past, you're going to have to drop things into, let's see, what is this called? Let's see. Let me refresh this because it's not showing up. Where is it? Okay. Let's do how to access the sim. That's what I was looking for. This will help you see the difference. You've already done this. You've gone to class resources. You've found Mega Learnings, and you clicked on View Resource. When you did that, thank you, Breed. This is what comes up. I've registered. Here you are. Okay, and that's all that comes up. I had to configure the teams, which I've now done before the drop ad period. Very few people drop their ads at the last minute, and then we have to assign them to a team. But when you do go again starting Monday, you will see the actual sim. I'll show you what you'll see. And it's like, well, why worry? We don't have a decision till week 3. Well, we do have a deliverable week 2, which is you all agree to do the sim. And this sounds bizarre, but it's try to get you to meet with your team, agree on something, and then either your new validator or any one of you can post in CLC, yes, we're going to do the sim. And it's a silly kind of looking thing because you just agree and you can just all say yes, and just one person posts, yeah, I already said yes. But it's an exercise to make sure you can combine the sim with CLC. Because when you have a deliverable, and the deliverables are called annexes, which show what your decisions are. It can take 10 minutes to make it. It's not a big deal. But when you post it on CLC, that is what you get credit for. And that's what you get 80 points for. Because you're on Harvard when you're in the sim and you don't get points from Harvard. So you have to reintegrate it back with CLC. So it's an easy step, and don't get confused by it because there are a lot of different designations for it. After that, the next time you click this, once I've got a provision, the teams are ready, which they are, I just haven't unlocked it yet. You'll see your own dashboard for your color team, and you'll go to your own color team. You'll go to yellow or blue or red of your own team. And for instance, from week 2 until week 7, you're going to have these points that come from here, but then go into CLC. And you do that by downloading the logbook. That's on this site, but also there's 2 other places. You looked at class resources when you first signed on, when you went to class resources up here, but below Mega Learning, you've got all the videos on YouTube, you've got your strategy guide, you've got your logbook and your annexes, all the rest of that. Starting week 2, next week, on the right side panel on Halo, let's see, you have all these resources up here. And by the way, all this stuff that says required, ignore it. You are not required to download, do all these APA 7 and all that stuff. You can read it as it helps you answer discussion questions, and you can read that chapter in the book, which was written by our own course originator, which is basically the Miller text. But all these answers are going to come from the sim. So put your energy and your focus on the sim. This is an instructor interface, so you'll see stuff that you're not supposed to see. But anyway, I also upload resources that will help you with the sim, where you can click on here, things like other videos we've done. I've done videos with our course originator and course lead, Dr. Waterman, and you'll see those there. And each of you gets a custom video after every decision that I post on Sunday that shows what happened, what did I do right and wrong, all that good stuff. Let's go to, whoops, not gonna let me go there. All right, here we are. This is what you're going to see when you first sign on. When you first go, you'll see your color and your dashboard. And I only have 5 minutes here. You're going to see a lot of these interfaces across the top and the bottom. I just want you to know and understand that there are a whole bunch of them. So this is your dashboard, and below it shows the 6 major things that you are measured on: the share value, employee morale, your retained earnings, gross, your revenues, and your emissions. This, of course, is emissions here. And what you'll see that is very interesting is I picked Amber's team here. And you can see where they started here. This is all decision 5 up to decision 5. They started with terrible emissions, and when they ended up, they had the best emissions in the group. When we go to revenue, their revenues started by making a whole bunch of mistakes, dropping down, and look where they ended up at the end of the sim. Number 1. Unlike any other sim, red ended up almost number 1 in almost every parameter. And there are reasons they did that, because of saying, hey, let's make these small adjustments. You'll have a temptation to try to make big slider changes, but that's not a good idea. All right, now we go, let's see, we'll go to rows. Look what red did. Again, they were topped by 3 other teams, and by the end, they ended up number 1 in rows. Very close, though. everyone did really well except Purple Question for reasons I won't get into. This is never going to be positive. Retained earnings, this is where some people get, especially quantitative or accounting people, get really frustrated. They're like, why can't we get into positive territory on RE? Because you're inheriting a completely broke company, and you can, as long as you improve it, you're going to really do well. Again, consistently, Red Team did well there. Employee morale has got a lot to do with how well the company's doing. If you're happy, the employees are, and Amber kind of joked, don't give a whole bunch of money to the unions and to the employees thinking you can buy them off. You can't. Do give them good wages and be humanitarian and let them go home and be happy that they're working there, but don't get to the point where you think you can buy them, because you have to do well in the sim for them to be happy and to recommend the cars to their relatives because they know their quality. And finally, share value is kind of takes care of itself. It can be high, it can be low, depending on EBIT. And EBIT is one thing you can get positive. Now, that's just looking at your dashboard. You also have the company, the markets, the decision, and let's go and validate. Our validators, when somebody says, well, I'm not sure I want to be a validator, what you really do is you click on this, and well, I shouldn't do it, but it basically gives you all your numbers. And on the corporate side, you have to make sure you have cash left. If you're at zero, it will not validate. And then you say, send your decision, and validates. It says, are you sure? And it does. That's all a validator does. It says, you're ready. You're ready, coach, to run this team. This is the real interface here, decision. You have two types of decisions, businesses and corporate. When you go to your business lines, these are the car lines: low cost, family, eco-friendly, image. Each of you is the CEO of one of these lines. And these are what we're talking about when we talk about sliders. These are the decisions you make that have got to do with your line. This is only for low cost, and this is only the value proposition. The value proposition is, this is how I think what we're doing to these products will match the customer's need. Then you have the value chain, which is absolutely what happened with our expenses, our costs, and our unit costs, and how did that result in market share? And then and this is all just low cost. Then finally you have budget, which don't forget to go to budget, because there are boxes that have to be filled in. You have to price your car. So you can't just use the sliders. You have to also do the budget. And again, this is different for every one of these lines. The cheat sheets, the videos, the slides. I did one. I had one team, I don't know, many universes ago, that said, Coach, this is a peanut butter. We're not going to go through 100 slides. We're working adults, and we're not going to take 3 days to go through 100 slides and learn all the nuances of this. You know, we're going to have to just make the mistakes. So what I did, I have one video called 100 Slides in 20 Minutes. It's on YouTube. You'll find links to it. You can actually see what does each slide do and go through every one of the hundreds in like 20 minutes. And so take notes if you need them, etc. And there's also on how to ace the sim. All of those slides are on the BUS 485 website, so you can look at that. What is roast? How do we measure roast? How do we, oh no, our roast crashed. How do we improve it? The most important thing to remember about these sliders is don't go way up on 1 to number 10 from number 3, because you will crash and burn. Make small corrections, but you have to make these corrections according to what you learned about your customers. So what is consumption? Consumption is pollution. Only it's reverse. Consumption means the higher you go, the less pollution you have, but it ties to your CapEx, your capital expenditures. And the more you do, the higher you go on this, the more it's costing you on production in your plant. So you have to be very careful about going too high on this. On another thing, who do you think would care the most about consumption? Low cost, family, eco, or image? Exactly, eco. I mean, if you're an eco and you go to consumption, look at this. This is a very smart team. They said, all right, we're going to spend a lot of money on CapEx because we know that eco buyers, this is matching what you do to what your customers want, because you're in the value proposition. So if you're in image, which is the race car, the I don't care, now this is a mistake. They went way high on ecology because they tried to hit ecology. This is the last decision. I shouldn't have showed you that, but Generally image, you do not want to go that high, but then when you get to marketing, and you say, what about dealership proximity? Now I'm in image here and it's like, what the heck? Why don't we have dealers near here? Now let's jump up to family. Let's jump to family and go down to marketing and look at, oh my gosh, that's 7. Why would it be like 3 or 4? Because as you go through the cheat sheet, you'll see family people buying a family vehicle want a close dealership. Image, who's buying a BMW or Rolls Royce, can have one dealership 100 miles away, and that's who they cater to. They don't care that much about the dealership experience. How would you ever know that? That's in the cheat sheets, it's in the slides, it's in the videos. And there's one video that's most important. It's how do I make a decision? That's all this stuff I'm showing you is how you make a decision. And then after you've gone through all your lines, you have the value chain and you have your budget, and that's where you price your vehicle, and you don't go too far. Now, another thing is it's a portfolio learning. So you have the 4 car lines, and they're all, the image and the family are where you make your money initially, and you're trying to get to low cost and eco-friendly by the end. And that's how this works through these 5 decisions. So spend your money on family and image to start, and gradually build low cost and eco. Don't say I'm going to be everything to everyone in eco and I'm going to get the best emissions, because if you get revenues and you sell more ecos than anyone else sells in the sim, you'll have the worst emissions because you put out 20,000 very efficient cars, but just by volume alone, you're putting out a ton of emissions. So this is really real world, and there are subtleties to the decision. So you can build yourself up slowly over 5 or 6 decisions. If I want to be really good in image, you don't have to do everything in image decision 1. And to make it even easier for you, as I close up here, we got like 3 minutes. If you are worried about making mistakes in any decisions, think about decision 1 and decision 5. Decision 1, you know nothing. What you can basically do is in decision 1 is match the market line. You can come close to where you think the market line is. As you change these sliders, these lines change. So these are decisions. All perception is, don't worry about perception. It just is, how do we see the customer compared to our line, and it doesn't do anything or change anything. You can see they just left it in the middle. Don't worry yourself about that, but you do have to do the decisions. And as you change technology and other things, look at what happened. You went way away from market because you're saying low cost does not care that much about technology. So you don't even have to read a thing to see, oh man, we really went too far away from the market line here, this white market line. That should really help you not make any huge mistakes from the beginning in terms of, look at that, I'm right on the market line at what is it for? So this isn't like giving it away and telling you what everything should be, because you can't see where this line's going to go. You can see where it is now, and it's going to be different up or down. So if you take Amber's advice and take kind of some shots of it, then you'll see where it's going also. But this is in all the videos, all the slides, etc. And the last minute, if there's any other questions, I'll take them, but I'll also take your questions. I'll text you, text me for questions. We'll do Zooms with you. Please volunteer to be a validator in red or blue. We need to have a person there that's my interface. But every one of you are welcome to text me. You have my text number, to call me anytime, and we'll do Zooms, whatever it takes to get to understand this. Are there any questions, or are you just completely confused now, or do you have an idea started? Give me some feedback. Nothing? Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
think watching 100 slides in 20 minutes is going to be helpful. So a little confused right now, but once I'm going to go over that, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, all 100 slides are available in the student book workbook. And when you're in your team, the one thing I didn't show you is that this little hamburger menu here, you can go to documents, and in documents, you can see your pre-reading, your cheat sheet, your learning logbook, your glossy of terms, and where the videos are. And these are also now on Halo, so you can go there. But just so you know, if you're looking all over Halo, especially if you're a ground student, it's like, where is this? There's 50 things here. You can also go to the hamburger menu and download them here right on the sim once you're on the sim. So that's another place you can get to 100 slides, etc.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm going to bail and let you all go to your families and your jobs. And I want you to know, I realize that in online, we have adult learners who are working. I have active military. I have students in other countries. I have students that are raising children and that have families and work and doing this. So I understand if you're having an issue, meeting a deadline, any kind of issues, text me, message me, whatever you want, and we'll connect up and I'll help you out. The one thing I ask that you don't do is please do not miss a meeting. Don't miss your team meetings, support your teams. This is not CLC. This is really, you'll know each other. It's one of your last classes. This is the capstone class. If you don't take it now, you got to take it at some point. And believe me, I have been with students going on forever that have become friends, helping with each other's careers, using the sim. I had one person that was in a job interview with somebody who actually had done the sim on another venue, and they had that in common, and it was like, you know, an immediate connection. So thank you all for taking the course, and thank you all for taking your time for to come here on a weekend and learn a little bit about the sim. And as you go forward, don't worry about it. Just take your best shot, and you'll learn by all of your successes and all of your mistakes that you make, because we all do. When we instructors compete with each other on this for fun, we make a lot of mistakes too. Even after having done it for years and years, because no one can game it. It's always different every time you do it, and there's always twist to it. So I appreciate your time. If there's no other questions, you have my phone number, you got my email. We'll connect there, and I will see you next week for our first CLC, which is your agreement form, and you need to meet before the end of next week to decide on the agreement form, and that's just a check mark. And please let me know if you want to be a validator. Thank you. Bye.